It's me, Grandpa Humbke. I hope everybody enjoyed the last two videos on my YouTube channel. Your likes, subscriptions, comments, and emails have energized me a lot. It's what keeps me going, and thank you. Good news is, to upgrade resources and equipment, new gear for filming has arrived. I will do an unboxing video and also talk about technology next week. Of course, I continue to read books, do 4D puzzles, take cold showers, complete courses, and experiment because I feel it is necessary to speak and offer suggestions only after I have first-hand experiences. Today, I want to tell you about the year Kathy, Roxanne, and I spent in Scapa, where I was principal of a 2-room grade 1 to 9 school. The population of Scapa, 11 people, consisted of 3 families: the Harveys, wheat pool elevator agent, school janitor, and post office; the Burnses, general store, gas pump, school bus driver, and trucker; and the Humbkes, teacher and principal. The other teacher, grade 1 to 3, was a man from Saskatoon who boarded with the close-by Art White family farm. The closest town to Scapa was Hannah, which was 20 miles south on a twisting gravel road suitably named the Snake Trail. Here you can see Scapa Hall, where we attend social events. At the time, it seemed to be a big place, but now I can get more people into my home. In the background is the Scapa School. The next picture you will see is Roxanne at about 11 months in her walker on the front steps of the school. When we moved to Scapa, we were complete strangers to the community. But it seems the smaller the community, the more friendly the people are. And it was the warmest welcome we ever had. As a father, husband, and school principal, Scapa was where I matured into a responsible, reliable member of the community. My job entailed teaching all grades, all subjects 4 through 9, and doing most of the administrative duties outside of school hours. I enjoyed it all. I talked with Alan Harvey, a grade 9 student back then, just last week, and he reminded me of the time we were building a rocket in science, and I accidentally set it off inside the room. The rocket took off all right and went right through a closed window. Luckily, no one was hurt. Scapa's claim to fame often brings up the stories that Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and Dean Martin spent time hunting snow geese at Sullivan Lake, Scapa. I also had the experience of shooting my shotgun into rising flocks of snow geese, packed so tightly that I did not have to aim the gun. I just pointed, and 2 or more were sure to fall. We enjoyed a lot of roast geese that fall. The most tragic event of the 1960s happened at 11:30 a.m. on November the 22nd, 1963, when the American President John Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Kathy came running over to the school that Friday morning with the news, and we were in shock for the rest of the day. It seemed as if the world had lost its innocence. The biggest tragic event in Scapa's history was to be remembered in 2020, but COVID-19 canceled that event at Scapa Hall. The newspaper headline was to have read, "Scapa area ranchers memorialize victims of 1907 blizzard." If you would like to read the account in the Canadian Cattleman Beef magazine, type 3 words, Scapa 1907 and blizzard, into Google, where you can read how Scapa's claim to fame is one of tragedy. Helen Bruner Standing wrote a 3-page poem, "Death in the Blizzard's Wake," but I haven't been able to find a copy yet. I do suggest you read the detailed account of the blizzard and find out what happened to the one remaining man. Please email at rogerhumpke6277@gmail.com and I'll send you a 3-page PDF file. It is an amazing story. Briefly, on January 29th, 1907, a fierce blizzard struck. When it ended a few days later, 2 men were dead, 450 head of beef cattle, and 100 horses perished, and only 1 man survived. And just barely, Montana rancher Lee Brainard perhaps took too many risks in an unknown country during a harsh winter. The result was almost inevitable. In 2007, a retired RCMP officer from Stettler came out and visited a few local ranchers. The officer's purpose was to ascertain where the blizzard had struck, where the men and beasts died, and where Brainard began his walk for survival. The officer met with rancher Gus Matthias, now deceased, also tragically in a farm tractor rollover accident in September of 2015. Matthias instigated the idea of a memorial site almost exactly where the tragedy had unfolded 100 years earlier. The community got behind it, and there is now a memorial plaque on the site of the tragedy. This is the memorial, 2 kilometers south of Scapa, to the blizzard victims, organized and paid for by Scapa community. That winter, I too saw frozen dead cattle standing with their backs to a raging blizzard in minus 40 degrees. Sometimes a storm would happen so quickly without any warning that they could not be saved. Even the cold weather and storms did not dampen Kathy and my social life at Scapa. We would play bridge once a week with the Harveys, and on another night, 500 with the Burnses. Every free weekend, I would spend Saturday at the grain elevator, helping out, playing crib with Fred, and socializing with the farmers. Once or twice that winter, Fred, 2 other farmers, and I would rent a room in the National Hotel in Hannah. At the time, I was 20 years old, and a man had to be 21 to legally drink in the beer parlor. So, we rented a room, and the guys would buy a case of beer. Then it was up to the room where we all enjoyed a couple of beers while we played bridge for 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday evening. Our other winter activities were going to the many country dances held in every small school and hall, hockey games in Hannah and Drumheller, card parties at Scapa Hall, and curling bonfields in Spondon, 20 miles east. Summer was more for farming, but there was also baseball games and sports days, even in the smallest communities. To get an idea of what we did on Saturday nights, listen to the link in the description below. This is a music documentary about the kind of music played in the Scapa region in the middle of the 1900s. Most of the communities like Spondon and Scapa were small and isolated from the mainstream life in Alberta. I visited the principal of the Spondon school and noticed that he had a full set of medical encyclopedias in his office. He had told the local people he had gone to medical school in Spain. He was well liked by the community, who often came to him for medical advice that he charged for. I heard later that he was an imposter and had no teaching or medical training. He heard the government was onto him, and before he was caught, he had told the locals he had to go back to Spain and wanted to sell all his belongings cheap. The locals bought all his furniture, and a couple of months after he had gone, the creditors showed up looking for their furniture, etc., that he had made the minimum payment for. They couldn't find it. As a principal, I was warned that there was a certain salesman who would drop in on isolated 1 or 2 room schools. He would always be in a suit and tie, carried a briefcase, and said he was from the Provincial Department of Education to do an inspection of the school and a formal report on the teacher. Most teachers would not be used to having any official visitors, were scared silly, and not dare to ask for any proof. It seemed like the person just liked to scare teachers and did it for a joke, or perhaps to get even because he disliked teachers. Yes, there were scams even then, but in small communities they were few and far between. Perhaps it was a rural school myth. This is a picture of the grade 9 graduation class in Scapa, 1964. Left to right are Phyllis Wolfert, Mary Steinbrecher, Beverly White, and Alan Harvey. Missing is Gerald White. At that time, there was a provincial grade 9 exam that students had to pass before they could enter grade 10. The most dreaded part was the requirement to write a 300-word coherent essay on a given topic. A teacher's value often hinged on them being able to get all their students through grade 9. One of my students had failed grade 9 and was back for the second time. I remember spending so much time with him and the relief and pride I felt when he passed grade 9 English. Ralph Saby was the superintendent of schools and was leaving for the Northland School Division next year. He offered me a $500 Northland scholarship to go back to university in Edmonton for another year and then teach for them. I accepted. And so, after attending summer school for 6 weeks in July, the family moved to Edmonton for the 1964-65 term at the U of A. That will be another life story for later on. I hope you enjoyed my story, and I will come back next week on February the 2nd, 2021, with a new video about technology now and then, and the new iPhone for better video recording. Bye for now, and stay safe.